Donghyun is a high school in South Korea that only the top 1% of students attend. Ji-woo is a 10th grader who has been there for less than a year and struggles to fit in. Mr. Park, Ji-woo's homeroom and math teacher, speaks to him about his low math grade and suggests he think about transferring to a different school. Ji-woo's roommate asks him to buy food and alcohol for himself and his friends. He's caught by the night security guard as he sneaks back into the school. Mr. Park has him stand in front of his class and questions him about who else was part of the plan. He denies there was anyone else, even when his teacher threatens to punish him by kicking him out of the dorm for a month. Ji-woo's roommate is grateful and wants to pay him as a token of thanks. Ji-woo refuses and says it's not necessary between friends. The others join and thank Ji-woo. They point out the night security guard, Hak-sung, and speak about how he defected from North Korea 4 years ago. Hak-sung walks home and feeds his pet turtle. Ji-woo packs up and walks to his home in a poor neighborhood. His mother asks how school is going, and he lies, saying it's fun. She's so proud of him and apologizes for not caring for him properly after his father died 10 years ago. He tells her to forget about it and pretends he must return to his dorm. Hak-sung patrols the school grounds in the pouring rain. He discovers Ji-woo hiding and lets him sleep in his office when he learns about the punishment of being kicked out of the dorm. Ji-woo goes to class the next day and realizes that Hak-sung answered his difficult math homework. He wants to ask Hak-sung to tutor him, but he chases him away. Mr. Park and other teachers speak about the welfare students. Hak-sung is working nearby and overhears them talking about Ji-woo living in poverty with a single mother. Hak-sung lets Ji-woo into his office and tells him to transfer. Ji-woo doesn't want to break his mother's heart. When asked about his father, he says his father was killed by a drunk driver 10 years ago. He's angry that the other students can afford to have tutors and take extra classes. Hak-sung instructs him to meet for lessons in the old science building. Hak-sung visits his friend, Gi-chol, who helped him settle when he defected from North Korea. Ji-woo arrives for his first lesson, and Hak-sung lists the rules. Rule 1. Never tell anyone about what they're doing. Rule 2. Only math questions are allowed. Rule 3. He will teach math, but he isn't interested in grades or tests. The lesson begins, and Ji-woo complains that it's a beginner problem. He provides the answer, and Hak-sung proves him wrong. Ji-woo complains that the problem is incorrect. Hak-sung says that you must first know the true mathematical problem to get the right answer. Ji-woo has nowhere to go, so Hak-sung lets him stay at his apartment. He switches on the cassette player and hears Bach. Ji-woo says the sound quality is bad and plays Bach on his phone. Ji-woo asks if Hak-sung likes Bach. Hak-sung says he's the beginning and end of music. If humanity ceases, all music can be recreated from Bach's sheet music. Ji-woo asks if he was alone when he escaped from North Korea. Hak-sung says only math questions are allowed. Mr. Park speaks about the Pythagoras Award to his class. It's the school's greatest math competition and is only taken once. Anyone in the top 3 is guaranteed a place at any prestigious university they choose. Most students give up, so the competition will replace the final exam. Ji-woo complains that Hak-sung expects him to solve all problems by hand. He shows Ji-woo an equation solved by Riemann, a famous mathematician. Riemann's hypothesis is about prime numbers and hasn't yet been proven. Hak-sung wants Ji-woo to consider why a math genius would work on such a simple equation. He explains that you need to understand and love the question. A real mathematician thinks and makes the utmost effort. A month passes. Bo-ram asks Ji-woo if he'll transfer out. She carelessly comments that helping welfare students transfer is popular now. He accuses her of being cruel. Bo-ram's mother thinks it's bad for her to hang out with a welfare student. She tells her that Mr. Park has helped get Bo-ram into an elite tutor class for math. It's called the Euler Maths Research Lab and is very expensive. Hak-sung encourages Ji-woo to prove he shouldn't transfer. The most important thing a mathematician needs is the courage to continue working on a problem. He tells Ji-woo he has courage as he's gotten this far without giving up. Ji-woo is now back in his dorm. Bo-ram apologizes and then follows him to his lesson with Hak-sung. She thanks Hak-sung for looking out for Ji-woo. He says she can join their lessons if she doesn't tell anyone about it. At their next lesson, Ji-woo asks if Hak-sung studied math for the sake of his family. Hak-sung says that he did initially, but continued because math is beautiful. He shows Ji-woo the pieces of Euler's formula and how it represents things in real life. Ji-woo thinks math is okay, but not beautiful. Bo-ram joins them, and Hak-sung has them sit at the old piano. He puts a sheet of numbers in front of her and assigns notes to the numbers. They begin playing a duet, and Ji-woo realizes that Hak-sung is playing the number pi. They're amazed at how beautiful it is. In math class, Ji-woo questions an answer. Mr. Park is happy and asks him to prove him wrong. He shows that there are two possible answers. Mr. Park congratulates him, but says the answer will remain the same as they focus on the test technique and the examiner will expect the other answer. Ji-woo asks if examiners get things wrong sometimes and points out that the right answer can't be found by the wrong problem. Mr. Park is irritated and kicks him out of the class. He tells the students that understanding what the examiner wants is the only thing expected of them. After class, Ji-woo politely tells Mr. Park that he won't transfer. Mr. Park is confused. Hak-sung is in a good mood as he visits Gi-chol. He gives Hak-sung a phone as a gift and convinces him to keep it. Hak-sung is pleased and shows Ji-woo that he can use the phone to read math theses. Ji-woo asks a student to secretly open the computer lab so he can print something. He and Bo-ram surprise Hak-sung with a printed thesis. He reluctantly accepts and grumbles about keeping it, even though he can read it on his phone. They tease him, and he wishes them luck with the Pythagoras exam the next day. Bo-ram gets angry and leaves in the middle of the test without answering anything. Ji-woo texts her after the test to see if she's okay, but she doesn't respond. Her mother tries to calm her down, but it makes things worse. Ji-woo takes Hak-sung to the theater. Bo-ram doesn't show up. A cellist plays Bach, and Hak-sung is emotionally overcome by the beautiful music. After the show, he invites Ji-woo to his apartment for dinner. He cooks a meal and is pleased to see Ji-woo enjoy the food. An emergency committee of teachers meet at the school. Someone anonymously posted that the Pythagoras questions were leaked. The principal wants Mr. Park to expose and punish whoever leaked the test. Hak-sung is in a bookstore with Ji-woo when someone recognizes him as Dr. Ri Hak-sung from North Korea. The man thinks Ji-woo is Tae-young, Hak-sung's son, and comments on how much they look alike. As they leave, Ji-woo asks about Hak-sung's son, but he doesn't answer. Hak-sung sits alone in his apartment and thinks of his son. He remembers buying the pet turtle, and when they ate dinner, he looked after Tae-young as he did for Ji-woo. A news broadcast reports that Riemann's hypothesis has been proven by Dr. Ri Hak-sung, who will get $1 million once it's confirmed by experts. Ji-woo finds Hak-sung sorting through recycling trash and asks him about it. Hak-sung gets angry and tells Ji-woo he must never bring up Riemann's hypothesis again. Ji-woo agrees. Mr. Park removes the sign of the Euler Maths Research Lab. His reputation will be ruined if his secret is discovered. He throws away the evidence and meets the principal the next day. Ji-woo is called in and shown footage of him leaving the computer lab. Ji-woo insists it was a thesis, not the Pythagoras questions. Mr. Park says he believes Ji-woo, but others won't. He'll be expelled at the very least. Ji-woo maintains his innocence. Mr. Park asks how Ji-woo got 70% on the Pythagoras test when his marks are usually much lower. He says that Ji-woo will get the blame in the end, and the only way out is to transfer. If Ji-woo doesn't, he can be arrested. Gi-cheol meets with a board of politicians. North Korea is suddenly claiming that Hak-sung was kidnapped by South Korea. Gi-cheol's job is threatened if he doesn't get him to appear for at least one interview to tell people he wasn't kidnapped. The eyes of the world are now on South Korea, as Riemann's hypothesis has been proven for the first time in 140 years, and the solution can affect international security and e-commerce. Gi-cheol visits Hak-sung, who thinks the Riemann solution is why his son died. Ji-woo is outside the door and hears them argue. Hak-sung says he died with his son and kicks Gi-cheol out. Ji-woo enters the apartment and refuses to leave. Hak-sung is harsh and rude. He finishes packing his bags and leaves Ji-woo behind. Bo-ram calls Ji-woo and asks why he's letting himself be framed for leaking the Pythagoras test. Ji-woo says it's over and hangs up. Hak-sung remembers the last time he saw Tae-young. He was busy with a math problem when Tae-young came home. He'd gotten into a fight with guys beating up his North Korean friends. Tae-young accused Hak-sung of escaping South Korea for selfish reasons and mocked him for working on construction sites. Hak-sung slapped him, and Tae-young told him to use his math and live alone in South Korea. He tried swimming across a river along the border to return to North Korea, but he was shot and killed. It's the day of the Pythagoras award ceremony. Ji-woo gives his transfer papers to Mr. Park, who says he's doing the right thing. Bo-ram calls Hak-sung and tells him about Ji-woo being framed. The students head inside for the ceremony, and Ji-woo walks out. Bo-ram steals his bag and runs inside. The teachers make them sit as the ceremony is about to begin. Hak-sung releases his pet turtle in the same river where Tae-young died. A famous South Korean professor is the guest speaker and talks about a math competition he participated in with Hak-sung when they were kids. He remembers the two of them were given special pens. The students begin whispering as Hak-sung walks up to the stage. Mr. Park tries to make him leave when Hak-sung takes out his pen. The professor is delighted and invites him on stage after introducing him. He jokes that they've met before and says he stands before them because of Ji-woo. He shows them the thesis Ji-woo gave him and states that he didn't steal the test, but rather printed the thesis. Mr. Park tries to stop Hak-sung from speaking and even mocks him. Hak-sung asks if it's still a school when a teacher frames their student. Mr. Park is furious and storms off the stage. Ji-woo breathes a sigh of relief. Hak-sung continues and says he was pathetic, greedy, and selfish before meeting Ji-woo. He apologizes to Ji-woo and thanks him. The principal says they'll investigate and he no longer needs to transfer. Ji-woo smiles as Hak-sung walks out. Gi-cheol picks him up and gives him documents of his official citizenship. He's all right with being fired and apologizes to Hak-sung. 3 years later, Ji-woo visits Hak-sung at one of the best math institutions in the world. They laugh, shake hands, and hug.